There were two great kingdoms, one nestled in the lush, verdant valleys of the north, kingdom of Norhold, and the other, with deep blue waters and towering fortresses, kingdom of Clearwater. The kingdom of Norhold was ruled by King Edward, whose queen, Queen Elizabeth, was renowned for her grace and wisdom. King Edward had two sons. The elder, Prince Ethan, was serious, judicious, and well-versed in the intricacies of politics, while the younger, Prince Ryan, was young, brave, and of a simple heart, drawn irresistibly to freedom and adventure. On the other hand, the kingdom of Clearwater was governed by King Victor, whose queen, Queen Catherine, was gentle yet carried the dignity of royalty. They had two daughters, the elder, Princess Emily, wise and fully acquainted with courtly etiquette, and the younger, Princess Eliza, a symbol of simplicity and free-spirited nature. One day, the weather was delightful. A gentle breeze swept through the air, and the sky was clear. Prince Ryan, accompanied by a few close friends, royal guards, and a contingent of soldiers, set out into the forest for a hunt. The thunder of hooves, the glint of spears, and the barks of hunting dogs shattered the forest's calm. Prince Ryan hunted with skill. Every strike reflected his training and youthful agility. Once the hunt was complete, the guards lit a fire. The crackling of the wood accompanied the roasting of the game. They all ate together, simple but with hearty laughter and joy. Yet, for some reason, Prince Ryan's heart was drawn toward an unknown, invisible allure. After the meal, he rose and wandered alone toward a nearby flowing stream. The water was clear, reflecting the sunlight. As he approached the stream, his gaze suddenly froze. In the stream, a young maiden was bathing. Her hair fanned across the water, her movements full of natural grace. On the other side of the stream, several young girls stood, their attire and demeanor clearly marking them as attendants, watching over the princess with respectful eyes lowered. Prince Ryan paused. He immediately sensed that this was no ordinary girl. She belonged to royalty. He instinctively stepped back, yet in that instant, the princess's gaze met his. For a few heartbeats, they remained silent. The forest, the stream, and even the air itself seemed to hold its breath. It was in that moment that fate began to weave the stories of the two kingdoms together into a single, unbreakable thread. Suddenly, the attendants standing across the stream noticed the prince, and a commotion erupted. "Princess! Princess! A man has come! There's a man standing here! Come out immediately!" The princess startled. She quickly stepped out of the water. The attendants, flustered, held a cloth toward her, and she hurriedly covered herself, coming to the bank and putting on her clothes. Her face showed a mix of embarrassment and royal anger. She took a few steps forward and spoke in a firm tone. "Who are you? By whose permission have you come here? Don't you know this is the royal stream of the Kingdom of Clearwater?" Prince Ryan immediately lowered his gaze and took a step back. "I did not come here intentionally. This was an unintentional mistake. I had come to the stream for water after the hunt." One of the attendants spoke sharply. "Mistake? Do you even realize in front of whom you stand?" Prince Ryan lifted his head with dignity. "I am Prince Ryan, son of King Edward of the Kingdom of Norhold. I had no intention of disrespect. If my presence has caused you any discomfort, I sincerely apologize." Hearing this, the princess paused for a moment. She studied his face carefully, and her tone now carried not just firmness but also a hint of surprise. "Kingdom of Norhold," she said softly, then composed herself and continued. "And I am Princess Eliza, daughter of King Victor of the Kingdom of Clearwater. The place where you stand is not a common stream. It lies within the royal boundaries." One of the attendants spoke up. "Your Highness, this is the very territory with which our kings have always had delicate relations." Prince Ryan quickly replied, "Precisely why I wish to be even more careful. I shall return immediately." Princess Eliza thought for a few moments, then said, "Go, but remember, if anyone learns of this meeting today, neither you nor I can foresee its consequences." Prince Ryan bowed respectfully. "I shall keep it a secret, Princess." He turned and slowly made his way back toward the forest. Princess Eliza remained standing, watching him go. The stream continued to flow. yet on its surface now shimmered the reflection of the destiny of two kingdoms. Hold. But though his body was inside the grand halls, his heart remained by the stream. In the stillness of the night, he kept recalling the same face again and again, those eyes, that voice, that fleeting moment. Sleep seemed 1,000 miles away. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Clearwater, Princess Eliza had returned to her palace. The attendants moved around her as usual, but she remained quiet. Standing before the mirror, she avoided her own reflection. That same scene replayed in her mind over and over. The stranger prince, his bowed head, the apologetic tone in his voice. She knew this meeting was far from ordinary, yet she didn't know how to erase this memory from her heart. Several days passed in this restless state. Then, a grand announcement shook the kingdom of Clearwater. King Victor had arranged the marriage of his elder daughter, Princess Emily. As this was to be a royal wedding of high prestige, King Victor sent invitations to kings, princes, and nobles from all neighboring kingdoms. A royal messenger arrived in the kingdom of Norhold as well. King Edward read the invitation and immediately decided that his son, Prince Ryan, would represent their kingdom at the celebration. When the news reached Prince Ryan, his heart leapt with joy. The invitation had come from that very kingdom, the kingdom where Eliza lived. He smiled quietly to himself, thinking that perhaps fate was once again drawing him closer to her. As the wedding day approached, Prince Ryan, clad in royal attire, set out for the kingdom of Clearwater, accompanied by his guards and courtiers. Throughout the journey, his heart was restless. With each passing mile, his pulse quickened, especially as he drew near the castle. Finally, he reached the gates of the magnificent palace. High walls, ornate doors, fluttering flags, and glowing lanterns, everything radiated the joy of the wedding. As Prince Ryan entered the palace, the attendants welcomed him with the utmost royal etiquette. He had taken only a few steps when his gaze fell upon the inner courtyard, filled with royal ladies and distinguished guests. He knew, somewhere in this crowd, Princess Eliza would be there. Kings, nobles, rajas, and princes had arrived from far-off kingdoms. Precious garments, royal insignia, and an air of dignity shone from every face. Prince Ryan moved among the crowd as well. Some greeted him, some inquired after his well-being, and others tried to engage him in political conversation. But his attention was elsewhere. Suddenly, his gaze landed on the royal dais ahead. There, seated in her bridal attire, was Princess Emily, and beside her, with silent grace, sat Princess Eliza. Their eyes met, and recognition passed between them instantly. For a moment, Eliza raised her eyes, and Ryan's gaze locked with hers. A strange joy surged through Ryan's heart, as if after a long journey, he had finally glimpsed someone he had been searching for. Eliza quickly lowered her eyes, but a faint, subtle smile touched her lips, visible only to Ryan. After a while, the royal banquet was laid out. A variety of dishes, fragrant curries, sweet delicacies, and fresh fruits adorned the tables. Guests busied themselves with the feast. Laughter, conversation, and the gentle clinking of utensils filled the air. Ryan sat at the table, yet his heart was elsewhere. His eyes kept wandering toward the side where Eliza sat today. Gradually, night fell. Torches were lit in the grand halls, and a royal dance began to the music of skilled musicians. Dancers twirled to the rhythm, and guests applauded. Yet Ryan's heart remained restless. He watched everything, but felt something entirely different within. After the dance, guests were escorted to their chambers. Prince Ryan was shown to a magnificent room. Soft bedding, glowing lamps, and open windows awaited him. Yet sleep was far from his eyes. Instead of lying down, he kept moving to the window, gazing toward the courtyard and palace corridors, hoping for even a fleeting glimpse of Eliza. Softly, he asked the attendants who entered his room, "Which way is Princess Eliza's chamber?" The attendants replied politely but evasively, giving no clear answer. Thus, his night passed in restless anticipation. Eyes closed, and he saw Eliza's face before him. Eyes open, and the silent walls of the palace seemed to greet him. With the first light of morning, the palace stirred with new excitement. Today was the wedding's main day. Princess Emily's groom had arrived overnight with his royal entourage, and the kingdom of Clearwater was ready to welcome this new union. The afternoon sun cast its full light over the palace. In the royal courtyard, a grand and lavish lunch had been laid out. The aroma of the food spread throughout the palace, as guests from different kingdoms sat around the table, laughing and sharing their experiences and stories. Prince Ryan was also among them, but his gaze kept drifting in one direction, toward Princess Eliza. After the lunch, the royal priest completed the wedding ceremony of the bride and groom, Princess Emily and her groom, who had arrived at the palace overnight, were now bound together in matrimony. After the wedding, the groom joyfully took Emily away, leaving a pleasant yet solemn calm over the palace. All the guests who had attended the feast gradually departed to return to their respective palaces and states. But Prince Ryan's heart was not at ease. He stood there, watching Eliza from afar, wishing that this moment would never end. A few remaining guests, who had not traveled far, were still in the palace, but most had already left. Ryan knew he still had time, moments to spend quietly in Eliza's presence. He stood by the window, his eyes repeatedly drawn to Eliza's face, her movements, and her silent grace. His heart raced, yet his feet felt rooted to the ground. He knew that these moments, these meetings, were theirs alone, and the memories of this time would remain in their hearts forever. Prince Ryan found himself wandering aimlessly in the palace's great halls. The evening time had come and gone. The guests had returned to their respective rooms, and the attendants were taking rest in their respective chambers, leaving the entire hall in a deep silence. However, Prince Ryan could not help but feel uneasy in his own room as he sat there speculating about Princess Eliza's chamber, its location, and how he might reach it. In his heart there was an unexplainable anticipation, a hopeful feeling that he might witness it that night. As time steadily went by, and all the guests had drifted off to sleep, Prince Ryan cautiously ventured outside through the silent corridors. He had draped a dark green cloak on his body, hiding his identity from the darkness. Every step brought about an increase in his heartbeat, and his breaths came faster. Yet, he remained poised, hopeful. He finally arrived at Princess Eliza's room, carefully tiptoeing his way inside. The light from her window, barely making its way through the curtains, guided his steps. After reaching the room, he hesitated for a moment before gently knocking on the door. The voice from within was a mixture of concern and curiosity. "I am here. Who are you? Why are you coming into my room at this late hour?" Prince Ryan asked softly, confined to the hearts of those who knew the true meaning of love in all its complexities. The night was deep and silent within the palace, yet the air between Ryan and Eliza was charged with an intensity of emotions. Eliza's eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear, worry, and love, while Ryan's heart was pounding so fiercely that he could feel it in every part of him. The guards had seized him, but Ryan's gaze remained fixed on Eliza, every moment consumed by a single thought: his love, his life, and the moment when he could be near her again. Eliza reached out her hand, as if to stop him or to pray for him, yet the presence of the guards behind the door restrained every step. The palace lights dimmed, and each room was swallowed in a shadowy silence. This silence represented not only fear but also the intensity of the love that had been hidden. Between them, bound and restrained, Ryan tried to conceal his feelings, but his eyes betrayed everything: love, courage, and the unwavering determination to reach Eliza at any cost. In this quiet evening, every wall, every pillar, every flicker of light in the palace seemed to capture this moment, as if it were meant to remain frozen in time forever. The silence of the night had settled over the palace, and Prince Ryan had been thrown into the dungeon by the guards. In the chamber before the throne, preparations were underway for the royal court, so that when the king awoke in the morning, he could be informed of everything that had taken place during the night. Morning arrived. The first rays of the sun streamed through the tall palace windows. King Victor, the ruler of the kingdom of Clearwater, entered the court dressed in his magnificent royal attire. Courtiers and high-ranking soldiers stood beside him as the court was formally convened. Prince Ryan was brought out of the dungeon by the guards and presented before the court. He appeared slightly shaken, yet there was still a glimmer of courage in his eyes. Stepping forward, the guards gave their testimony. "Your Majesty, during the late hours of the night, we saw this Prince Ryan within the royal palace, near Princess Eliza's chamber. We immediately seized him and placed him in the dungeon." King Victor's anger flared instantly. His cheeks turned red, his hands began to tremble, and the severity of his fury was evident in his voice. He stepped forward, his eyes blazing with rage, and declared, "How could this be allowed? How dare anyone enter my daughter's chamber? This is an act of insolence. This is a grave insult. I will order the harshest punishment for this offense." At that moment, a heavy silence fell over the entire court. Everyone present could feel the weight of the king's wrath and the fear it inspired. Ryan stood there, fear and restlessness reflected in his eyes. Yet deep within his heart remained a fragile hope that perhaps, even now, there might still be a way out. Displeasure was obvious in the eyes of the ruler who saw his son as a threat to the integrity and order of the kingdom. As a father, the ruler could never justify the extreme measure he was considering. Instead, he resolved to reassure the people and apologize for any harm caused to the royal family. The tension in the world of the ruler and the son increased when the king's message was delivered to the unsuspecting heir. He read every word with growing despair as he realized that the consequences of his actions could be disastrous for the entire kingdom. The ruler understood that he faced a tremendous challenge and was torn between love for his son and commitment to his duty as ruler. As the ruler's son, Prince Eric, listened to his father's words in solitude, his heart swelled with sorrow and fear for his own safety. He knew he was facing a cruel decision but was unable to bring himself to abandon his father's instructions. After weeks of traveling and facing the harsh reality, Prince Eric sent a message to his father under the cover of darkness, explaining the gravity of the situation. The words flew from his lips like a fireball leaving the king vulnerable and disoriented. The irony was not lost on Prince Eric when he saw the fear and anger in his father's eyes. The ruler recognized the pain and discomfort in which he found himself and made the difficult decision to sacrifice his son to save the kingdom from potential destruction. In the end, Prince Eric's words echoed in the silent crowd outside the palace, reflecting the uncertainty and complexity of the situation that had brought his father and the entire kingdom to the brink of destruction. At that very moment, Prince Edward was filled with anger and disarray. Standing beside the wall of the audience chamber where Prince Ethelred, one of his brothers, had just stepped forward. His voice held a calmness, and his eyes held determination. "Now, my father," Prince Ethelred addressed the monarch with a respectful tone, "I beseech you to let me go and bring my brother back to you. Not only will his life be safe, but the two great empires will be able to end their ongoing conflict. Thousands of innocent lives will be saved." The king, Edward, looked hard at his eldest son and then spoke with a deep voice. "Never underestimate this matter, Ethelred. It could be the death of you or even your kingdom." Prince Ethelred made a step forward and said, "I know, my father. However, I promise that no mistakes will take place." He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "With all my heart, I promise you to bring your brother back safely." The room in the audience chamber was shrouded in silence. After some moments, the king breathed deeply and said, "Fly. But remember, you are not only bringing your brother back, but you are representing your entire kingdom." That same night, Prince Ethelred, along with two trustworthy and loyal friends, set out on their journey to return his brother to safety. These three travelers dressed in ordinary citizens' clothes, trying to be recognized by no one. They knew that every kingdom had its spies. They had already set up connections in the elector's kingdom where two reliable spies could be found. As they made contact, they joined forces with him too. Now, there were 5 people, silent, cautious, and united with a single purpose. As night fell, they entered the city, where the magnificent palace of the king was located, where Prince Ethelred's brother, Runic, was being kept captive, and where the conflict between the two great empires was taking place. The city was filled with stillness, with shadows cast by the light of torches that illuminated the walls of the majestic palace. Prince Ethelred whispered to his companions, "This is the place. If history changes today, or we are buried beneath the walls of our palace." The 5 shadows disappeared into the heart of the Elector's kingdom, leaving a permanent mark on the kingdom's history. The 5 shadows moved slowly toward King Victor's palace. The night had deepened, torches flickered along the walls, and guards patrolled the corridors. Ethan signaled with his hand for everyone to proceed cautiously. As they entered the palace, 2 guards suddenly appeared in front of them. Before they could raise an alarm, all 5 struck at once. One's mouth was silenced, another's arm twisted. Within moments, both guards collapsed unconscious to the ground. In the hallways, wherever guards appeared, they were subdued silently. No screams, no noise. Just falling bodies in the darkness and sharp, rapid breaths. Finally, they reached the underground section where prisoners were held. A heavy iron door stood before them. One of the spies took out a key. There was a faint click, and the door creaked open. Inside, the light was dim. In a corner, bound in chains, stood Prince Ryan. Time seemed to pause for a moment. Ryan lifted his gaze and saw Ethan standing before him. "Brother." Ryan's voice trembled. Ethan stepped forward and embraced him tightly. His eyes were wet, but his voice was firm. "I'm here, Ryan. You're not alone." Tears streamed down Ryan's face. The fear, the humiliation, the captivity, all shattered in that single moment. "I knew." Ryan whispered softly, "that you would come." Ethan unlocked the chains, and with a strong voice said, "We have to get out of here immediately. We cannot waste a single moment." The 5 prepared to turn back. The path ahead was the same. Silent, dangerous, but filled with hope. They had only taken a few steps when Ryan stopped. Ethan froze in surprise. "What is it?" Ryan took a deep breath and said, "I need to see Princess Eliza. Just once." Ethan's feet froze. "Are you serious? We are in the enemy's palace. I came to get you out. I promised Father we would. How can you even think about this?" There was a strange stubbornness in Ryan's eyes, mixed with pain. "I came here for her, Ethan. I came here to see her. It's because of her that I was captured. She is my love, my life. I cannot leave without seeing her." Ethan spoke in a harsh tone. "This is madness. We are on the edge of war. One wrong step, and it's over for all of us." Ryan looked into his eyes and said, "If I leave without seeing her, I may survive, but I will die inside." Silence fell in the corridor. The torchlight trembled against the walls. For the 5 of them, this moment hung between life and death. Ethan whispered urgently, "Ryan, you only have a few minutes. Go meet her quickly, and come back immediately. We can't stay here for another moment." Ryan nodded. "All right, brother. I'll be back in 2 minutes." He vanished swiftly into the dark corridors. Moments passed, and Ethan's heartbeat grew faster. Every sound felt like danger. Then, footsteps echoed. Ryan returned, but he wasn't alone. Princess Eliza was with him. Ethan froze. "What is this? Why did you bring her? Are you out of your mind?" Ryan spoke firmly. "Brother, she wanted to come with me." Ethan's tone hardened. "No, that's impossible. We can't take her. She's a princess of another kingdom. If anyone finds out, war is inevitable." Eliza stepped forward, tears in her eyes and determination in her voice. "I cannot stay here. I can't imagine living without Ryan. I will go with him, no matter what happens." Ethan tried to reason with them. "You're both acting on emotion. This decision must be made with your mind. One wrong step could cost thousands of lives." But neither Ryan nor Eliza budged. At that moment, Eri spoke softly but fearfully. "We have to leave immediately. Dawn is approaching. Once the light spreads, escaping will be impossible." Ethan looked at Eliza for a moment and took a deep breath. "All right, but remember, the consequences of this choice will be grave." The 5 of them moved quickly, running footsteps in the dark. Silent breaths, and behind them, the royal palace. As a faint light appeared in the east, the sun about to rise. They had already crossed the city's last boundary. The walls remained behind, and ahead of them, a new, dangerous, and unknown journey had begun. After hours of travel, Prince Ryan and his elder brother Ethan returned to their kingdom's palace, bringing Princess Eliza with them. Behind them, King Victor, Eliza's father, was in a state of extreme anxiety and anger in his palace. He had learned that Ryan was no longer in prison, and shortly after, the news came that Princess Eliza was also missing from the palace. King Victor shouted at his servants and courtiers in a harsh tone. Ryan ran away, escaped from prison, and my daughter is gone too. What is happening? Is this insolence? Meanwhile, Ethan, Ryan, and Eliza entered their kingdom's palace. King Edward, Ryan's father, was overjoyed to see his son alive and well. Bravo, Ethan! You have brought your brother back safely. King Edward embraced Ethan warmly, but soon his eyes revealed curiosity and sternness. And who is this young lady? Ethan replied respectfully, Your Majesty, this is Princess Eliza, the daughter of King Victor. She is the reason Ryan was imprisoned there. Ryan stepped forward, his heart pounding, and said firmly, Your Majesty, she loves me, and we wish to marry. I cannot live without her. King Edward's face turned pale. Anger was evident in every line of his expression. What have you done? Why have you taken this step? This reckless act could have caused bloodshed between two kingdoms. Ethan and Ryan stood silently, while Eliza held her emotions tightly in her hands, fully sensing the intensity of the king's anger and astonishment. Meanwhile, Princess Eliza's father, King Victor, burning with rage and humiliation, issued an immediate command. He summoned all his ministers, military commanders, and generals to the royal court. A heavy silence fell over the hall, broken only by the thunderous voice of King Victor. King Victor declared, My daughter has been abducted. My kingdom has been insulted, and this insolence can only be answered by the sword. Prepare for war at once. We will attack King Edward's kingdom. I will avenge my daughter's dishonor and my humiliation with blood. The moment the order was given, the army sprang into motion. Blacksmiths began forging swords and spears day and night. Horses were prepared for battle. Soldiers resumed their drills, and war banners were raised atop the palace walls. At the same time, spies traveling through secret routes silently crossed the borders and reached King Edward's kingdom. They presented themselves at the royal court and reported, Your Majesty, King Victor is preparing to attack your kingdom with his full force. His only aim is revenge and war. Upon hearing this, King Edward's face grew grave. He immediately summoned his generals, ministers, and military commanders. If war has become our destiny, then we shall not retreat. King Edward declared in a firm voice, We will defend our land, our honor, and our sons. Thus, preparations for war intensified in both kingdoms. Armies began gathering along the borders. War drums and trumpets echoed through the air, and the clash of swords, and the scent of approaching blood, seemed to hang heavily over the land. One night, King Edward slept deeply in his royal palace. The palace courtyards were silent. The guards on the ramparts stood alert yet calm, and the townspeople, despite the looming threat of war, rested in their homes. Suddenly, cutting through the stillness, a terrifying rain of arrows fell from the sky. In an instant, the entire city awoke. The air filled with screams, the neighing of horses, and the booming of war drums. A single cry echoed everywhere. We are under attack. The enemy has struck. In the darkness, arrows rained fire. Flames erupted as they struck the rooftops, and amidst the foggy air, fear and courage spread together. King Edward awoke immediately. Grabbing his sword, he commanded in a thunderous voice, All generals to the walls. Close the gates. This is no time to sleep. This is the time to defend the kingdom. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan sprang from their chambers like lightning. Armors clanged, swords were drawn, and the two brothers raced ahead of their troops toward the ramparts. The streets of the city roared with cries, We will fight. We will defend our land. Long live the kingdom of Edward. Generals shouted orders. Archers lined the walls, and heavy stones and wooden stakes were placed at the gates to prevent the enemy from entering. King Edward himself stood atop the rampart, His voice thundered, his eyes ablaze. "Prepare the arrows. Wherever the attack comes, strike with all your might. If we stand firm tonight, our future generations will live with pride." Prince Ryan raised his sword and declared, "This is our kingdom, and no one shall take it from us." Prince Ethan moved among the soldiers, urging their courage, present on every front. Thus, in the dead of night, the entire kingdom awoke. Every heart was filled with fear to defend their land. All the defenders rushed toward the massive gates of the castle, only to face a relentless storm of arrows. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan, leading their soldiers, reached the high battlements, swords and bows ready to meet the enemy. Amidst the hail of arrows, they unleashed their own volley, striking down many invading soldiers. Some enemy ranks were forced to retreat. After 2 grueling hours of battle, Prince Ryan, Prince Ethan, and their father, King Edward, felt that they had successfully defended their fortress. King Edward praised his generals and soldiers, sharpened his sword, and was lost in the euphoria of victory. Suddenly, a deafening explosion echoed from afar. Flaming projectiles began to rain down, and pillars of fire shot up around them. Everyone stood stunned, unable to comprehend what was happening. The enemy, led by King Victor, had orchestrated a brilliant and calculated assault. Initially, they sent a few thousand archers to silently and precisely break the castle's defenses. Then, with an army of tens of thousands, they launched a coordinated attack on all sides. Prince Ryan, Prince Ethan, and King Edward fought alongside their soldiers, but slowly. The overwhelming numbers and ferocity of the enemy began to take their toll. Nearby defense lines were collapsing, gate guards were faltering, and even the soldiers atop the battlements were in grave danger. Lines of worry etched themselves deeper on King Edward's face, fear mingling with the fire in his eyes. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan struggled to hold their forces together, but the enemy's strategy and sheer strength pressed them into a corner. Arrows rained down from every direction, and King Victor, Princess Eliza's father, advanced with his army, wielding massive stones and cannons. The castle walls, which once seemed impenetrable, began to crack and weaken in several places. Suddenly, a deafening shock echoed through the fortress. The main gate of the castle had shattered. King Victor's army, numbering in the thousands, poured into the castle. Everywhere, chaos and bloodshed filled the air. Swords clashed relentlessly, arrows whizzed through the sky, and screams of fear and pain echoed through the battleground. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan's forces were small and outnumbered, struggling desperately to hold their ground. From the castle window, Princess Eliza watched it all unfold, her face etched with deep worry and fear. Seeing her father's army, she trembled inside, praying silently that Ryan, Ethan, and their soldiers would remain safe. Blood stained the castle courtyard. Swords collided with every step. The enemy's overwhelming numbers made the weakened defenses a dangerous liability. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan, alongside their brave but few soldiers, fought every moment to defend their lives and kingdom. Yet, the enemy's growing forces and the crumbling castle walls weighed heavily on their courage and strength. The entire castle, King Edward, father of Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan, who had been fully consumed with defending his kingdom and fortress, now realized the grim truth. They had failed against this relentless assault. King Victor, father of Princess Eliza, had breached the castle with his army. Their numbers were so overwhelming that even children and the weakest soldiers were forced to abandon their weapons and flee. Chaos reigned throughout the castle, courtyard and ramparts. Arrows whistled through the air, swords clashed violently, and the blood-soaked ground painted a terrifying picture. King Edward stood in the grand hall of his palace, distraught as he watched his generals. He bent his back, hiding his face in his hands, silently wondering how he could protect both his fortress and his kingdom now. Prince Ryan and Prince Ethan fought alongside their soldiers, attempting to hold back the enemy from all directions. Yet against such overwhelming numbers and power, they felt drained and powerless. Arrows, stones, and cannon blasts echoed through the castle walls. And with the first light of morning, the battle had escalated into a dire threat to everything they held dear. In the end, after the storm of war, King Edward and his sons, Ryan and Ethan, had suffered heavy losses. The princes and their soldiers were wounded and exhausted, and the few remaining guards of the castle had fallen to their knees. At this moment, King Victor entered the castle with his army, and after capturing them, presented Princes Ryan and Ethan before him. King Victor gathered all the people of the city in the castle courtyard, and proclaimed in a loud voice, "These young men and women, who have acted against my home, my family, and my daughter's honor. Because of them, my kingdom has been humiliated today. From this day forward, I am your king, and their punishment is inevitable." Princes Ryan, Ethan, and Princess Eliza were imprisoned and prepared for execution. Silence fell over the castle courtyard, as the people stood in fear, grief, and disbelief, because of the love between a young boy and girl. The kingdom of King Edward, once a symbol of greatness, was now completely destroyed. By the hands of King Victor, the entire castle had fallen, and a story of love, full of passion and reckless decisions. Thus, the carelessness and choices of a young girl and boy led to the downfall of King Edward's empire, which had once been a great power, and now survived only in memories and stories.